Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion to vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, fascinating. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Okay, so hi.
Hey, Katie.
Hi. So I was thinking, about, I think you and I were talking about this the other day, but I don't remember. Maybe it was someone else, about the title of the podcast, All the Answers. And there's a way that, I don't know, I just have an impulse. I need to talk about it a little bit.
Okay. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Awesome. So that works out well for us. It's, I have full awareness of we've talked on here before about like the sort of bold brassiness of that claim. And, part of the reason to title this podcast, in my mind, this title, is to sort of challenge people and be like, I know that it's a triggering sentence for anyone intelligent with any kind of sensitivity who's done any kind of work on themselves. There's a way that at a certain point in one's personal growth journey, you realize nobody has all the answers. There is no way to have all the answers. And in fact, it's one of the great challenges of being a healer, kind of sensitive psychic person, is that people come to you and they want all the answers. And so often what we pick up on is like, oh, I see what you're struggling with. I feel your energy field. There's a block here. There's a block there. You're believing this. You're not believing that. So you might want to choose this, this, and that if what you're trying to create is this, this, and that. Now, ironically, however, there are certain things where it's like, I definitely don't recommend you choose that because the energy is not good on it. Like, there are answers, and then sometimes there aren't. And also, like, for myself in my life, there's so many things in my life where, and I'm trying to sort of address the humanity that exists behind this question and the ways that this statement, this question, all the answers, fails and should fail. In other words, like, there are so many things in my personal life where it's like, the answer to the question you're asking, Katie, is like, be present and keep going. Like, just breathe, feel, be present in the room, stay open, don't shut down, don't judge, keep going, which is sort of the answer to every question I have personally about everything. So in a way, you could say, like, there's literally no need for this conversation at all. And there's literally no need. We
don't have to open the records. We can just say, be present, feel your feelings.
Exactly. Feel your feelings, be present, don't be a dick, have a good day. Like, it's pretty simple. Do what you want to do, try hard. If you don't get what you were trying to get, try to be grateful for what you have a good day.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you do want to do it, do it. My point is, like, there's a real flaw in the entire structure of person calls other person to get answers to things. Like, if you've done any therapy at all, like I've done a lot of it, there's a certain point where you realize, I see, my therapist here is like mirroring back what I'm saying, offering questions and possibilities, and then mirroring back what I say about that.
Right.
They're holding space for you to realize what's true for you.
Right.
So for someone to just call in and be like, what do I do? What are the answers? There is a problem with that dynamic. There is. But then you look at, I don't know, for example, like Loveline or, Dr. Drew, stuff like that, where it's not psychic per se, although that guy is really tapped in. That's a psychic, intuitive dude. He says shit. I don't know if you listen to that show, but he says stuff where he's like, do you work in like finance? And they'll be like, how did you know that? And he's like, yeah, I know. I could just tell.
I just can tell. I just wish he wasn't associated with that other guy, because that guy drives me crazy. But we can talk about that at another time. I'm just not saying his name.
My point being about him is that, like, I've listened to that show a lot, and he's giving great, just sort of practical, there are specific practical life-based, wisdom-based pieces of advice one can give another human being about specific circumstances. Like, I could look at this question that Nico gave us earlier. We had someone call in and ask a question, and I could just, from my life and my own wisdom, I could give some great advice to this person.
Right.
looking at this little sheet of paper and all the things they said to us, I already know what I would say. But and what we're going for. So my point being, advice isn't bad, you know, getting guidance from another human mammal isn't bad. I'm sort of just addressing the insanity of the title of our podcast.
It doesn't say Katie and Cassidy have all the answers, or nor does it say this podcast has all the answers. It says all the answers can be explored, in my mind. That's what it says. That's me hedging our bets.
Yeah. I mean, I personally wanted to call it that because I wanted people I wanted skeptical people to go, you can't have all the answers. Let me listen to this crazy bitch and disprove her whatever. And then I wanted the people who were like, all the answers to listen because
shut down the Jordan Petersons of the world.
Exactly. But then like the other people, I want them to be like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll get some answers. Like I'll call in. And then moderate people, I want them to be like, what do they mean by that? What do they mean by all the answers? You can't have all the answers. So anyway, I just, as an intelligent human mammal on the planet, it's like, there's no part of me as the human Reuben Katie person.
Human Reuben? Does that mean you're made of meat and rye bread?
I am a sandwich.
Yes, a good sandwich.
I am a sandwich. That's like
it's an improv game, isn't it? I am a sandwich.
I was gonna say in a chorus line, I am a dancer. I am a sandwich. If actually it's true that you are what you eat, I might be a sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I'm a pork burger.
Ooh,
that's what I had last night. It was really good.
Yum. I'm thinking of being unvegan now. What do you think?
Shocking.
a
lot of my sort of, ethics of consumption are a little challenged right now. Like, go to the store, I try and only buy organic. Nope, just buy that. I'm going to get that because I need food. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Lately, I've just been like missing the simplicity of like, I can keep my food really clean if it's like chicken, vegetables, and some potatoes. Yeah. But with vegan eating, it's like, then you're having like the man-made, quote unquote, plant-based meat.
Oh, it's like way worse than any well-raised chicken.
Maybe
some of them are great and clean, but some of them are like hydrogenated, localized, processed cancer maker.
I know. And to do it really well, then it's like, okay, back to vegetables and beans every fucking day. Yeah, and then it's fart central. And listen, I'm by myself here. I feel like if you're gonna have amazing farts in life, you gotta have a partner around. So you can
to torture?
No, I love a good fart. I want to share it. It's a gift.
Not
oh
sure
my God. One of my main things that I loved about my last long-term partner was we just love to share farts together.
Did you go, oh, that one was a 4.3?
It wasn't about the smell of the farts.
Yeah, that's the problem is you can't, the sound is awesome. If we could just have the sound, rock on. But there's something else that goes with it that ruins the mood. That's all I'm saying.
How to explain it. We never had that problem. It was never like,
because you weren't vegan, maybe.
But he was.
Oh, impressive. Yeah, and he was a well-balanced vegan, it sounds like.
The farting was very entertaining. I miss the sharing of the farting. I frequently had the thought of like.
Most people miss contact, sex, caresses, the sharing of molecules. I miss farting.
I didn't say I don't miss those things. I really very much do, particularly during quarantine where I'm so goddamn alone.
I was just handed a cup of coffee. Speaking of people in your life that you're not alone. Sorry, it's just to torture you.
Aren't you loved and supported, you son of a bitch?
Yeah.
So the point being, I miss all the things, but the farts were really fun. Anyway, we were not talking about that.
Nope.
Veganism.
Vegan. Oh, you're going to stop being a vegan.
We were talking about the title of the podcast. But before we go back to that, just on the topic of veganism, I like it. I find that I'm like, so for listeners, I went vegan maybe 2 months ago, something like that, maybe 3 months.
More time has passed than we think is the problem because time is a construct anyway, but it's a real construct right now.
Yeah, it's really arbitrary and stuff. It was like long before Corona, a couple months before Corona, so maybe 3 months now. And I wasn't missing meat. I had a couple days of weird sort of detoxy symptoms, and I wasn't missing meat. And the reason I did it was because I watched Game Changers or Game Changer on the Flicks of Net, which was a great docu-series. Can't remember. Documentary about all kinds of shit. Your blood and what meat does to it, and fucking the farming industry and the fucking all the fucking god damn it things that made me at the end of it be like, I literally can't justify this on any level anymore. And so then I stopped eating meat. But 3 months in, I'm kind of like, emotionally, I miss Panda Express. Panda Express and I were very intimate friends, okay? It had my back in ways that Cassidy, as my friend, I don't think you ever could.
I understand. And we're hoping to get them as a sponsor on the podcast. So it's funny because you went through in, let's say, 3 months what I went through over 15 years. Because I had a come to Jesus, very similar kind of,
Really?
I can't participate in this anymore. I'm going to become a vegetarian, not vegan, but at least a shift. And it was a very rooted in revelation,
Yeah.
not the biblical kind, but in that's what it sounds like to me. Like you saw this thing, you're like, oh, I can't do that anymore. And then pretty solid on it for a good 15 years. And then I just was like, It's not like my ethics or morals changed. I just said, I'm bored. It was bored. I got bored with the idea of it. It was kind of like missing Panda Express. And I just was like, I'm gonna thank my ethics and internal guide. I'm going to thank them for their good work.
And then shove them off a bridge.
And then shove them off a bridge. That's exactly what I did. And I did it because I was about to take a trip to Europe, and I knew I was going to be like, I'm going to be in France. I want to eat food. And the first meal I had in Paris was steak tartare, which is just 2 scoops of raw, dog food. It's just really high quality dog food. You just take 2 scoops of beef and put it on your plate. And you're like, that's raw and ground. And you eat it. And it's delicious and blew my mind.
Oh.
Anyway, that's my story of being.
Well, I feel presently sexually aroused by the concept of beef. I'm like, let's go to Panda Express right now and have sex with the chicken that's there.
They're still doing takeout probably, so.
Oh, I've been going.
Oh, it's already on. You already shoved them off a bridge.
Oh yeah, they're open. Believe me. Panda is my new boyfriend for sure.
I wish you guys could see what we're seeing right now. This dog is a parrot. This dog climbs up on Katie and then gets over on the shoulder like a cat would, or a bird almost, or a mink.
Look at that. Now she's sitting on. Can you see? Wait, hold on.
She's facing away from you, but sitting with her butt on your shoulder.
She sits on the back of the chair, the top back of the chair, and then leaves her butt cheeks on my shoulder like this.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
cute.
The sound of the microphone moving.
I don't know what she's doing or why, but I really like it.
Yeah, it's comforting.
Very comforting. Her butt to my shoulder.
Yeah, it's like spooning, but different. It's like shoulder spooning.
Shoulder spooning, but to shoulder spooning. Yeah, so it's called All the Answers.
Right.
Because I'm not vegan anymore. Because...
what?
Yeah, no, because it's just, I like that we are, you know what it is too? It makes me think of this concept they taught us in Sufi school talked about, how we all struggle with, a lot of us struggle with perfectionism, right? Mm-hmm. And how we can feel like the spiritual path. There we go. We can feel like the spiritual path is somehow suggesting that we should all be trying to be perfect. You know what I mean? If you get deep into healing work, right, or therapy or anything, it's at a certain point, everybody kind of comes up against the question, how perfect do I give a shit to try to be? Do I need to keep doing healing work forever? What? How much change matters, And in healing school, they gave me this great concept that I like. He said, one of his teachers, we're always trying to strive for excellence and head toward perfection, knowing that we are inherently incapable of it. In other words, striving for excellence isn't there's nothing perfectionistic about that. That's just trying to do a good job, in the world at whatever you're trying to do a good job at. Knowing, and in order to strive for excellence, you have to aim for perfection. You have to kind of go like, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be perfect, here we go, I'm gonna kill it. But you have to understand in your heart that like perfection itself is saved for the oneness, or like doesn't exist in the human realm. Like you can't be perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just like that because it helps me hold it differently inside my psyche. Point being, like, all the answers, we don't have all the answers, but we can strive to have them. We can ask the higher forces, what do you guys have? What do you say? And sometimes, when I'm working with clients, the guidance I get is an energy. We've done that here on the podcast a bunch. The guidance is like, okay, open your heart and receive this energy. It's not an answer the way people want an answer.
Right.
Other times the guidance is like, live by the following principle. And that's not an answer the way people want an answer.
Well, we could also, like, just the word answer could just mean response. It doesn't necessarily mean solution. We don't have all the solutions.
Right.
We have answers to your questions. We always will have an answer to your question. Absolutely. In fact, I'll make that bold claim, because if you ask me a question, I have an answer. My answer might be not sure. Still an answer.
Yeah.
But I know we're going farther than that, obviously. We are actually giving guidance. But the point being, like, when you ask this question, here is what comes up.
Yeah. And it's not but like, I want to be careful also to say, we're not hedging. This is not a manipulation. This is not like, I gave you an answer. Like, what's your there's no like game playing going on here. Everything I get, it's wisdom from hopefully the most high frequencies that exist that are saying to you, here's the answer. But the answer, I'm just sort of like, the answer isn't always, let me be specific. I led a 3-day healing retreat this past weekend. And then from that process, I was sort of guided to do this meditation with people where I connected them to their higher self. So we could go through the records and tap into everybody's individual higher self. So we all got lined up with our higher self. And then I had people journal from the higher self the answers to 3 questions. So we all asked the same 3 questions, and everybody was individually tapped into their individual higher self, which, by the way, I want to say is like a function of the soul. The higher self is like, we are very much aligned with the soul level of consciousness when we're functioning from the higher self, when we're tapped into the higher self. Okay. So when you ask your higher self a question, I had people read the guidance they got or read the answers they got. And a lot of times, this is part of why I had them do this. When the higher self or the soul responds to a question, the guidance you get is this kind of soulful, principle-based guidance. It's not like, take this job, don't take this job. It's like, be a leader, be a healer, speak. It doesn't say, start a podcast, market on these platforms, don't give up. It says, be determined, speak, trust yourself. See what I'm saying? The soul and the higher self has guidance of that nature. It has wisdom, and wisdom for human beings often comes through principles.
Right.
It doesn't come through, that boyfriend is good, this boyfriend is bad. It doesn't come like that. It comes through like, okay, he was here to teach you about this, and you learned it, but you didn't learn that, so now you have to learn that, and he's not a person you're going to learn that with. For example, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the human mind that says, yeah, but tell me, so that I don't have to make an adult, integrated, human, mature choice. You tell me what to do. And then when it doesn't work out and you told me what to do, I don't have to take responsibility for what happened because I did it because the lady said. Yeah. You see? So I do. Instead, when we're speaking from the Akashic records, we're coming through the higher self, through the soul level, and we're saying, here's some guidance from your soul, from higher self, from the even higher than that. The record keepers are a higher vibration than that.
Now, I have also witnessed specifics come through, which maybe help to frame the wisdom. It's like, because our 3-dimensional bodied egos, whatever, need little touchstones to say what we're saying is true, and here's proof or whatever, like little nuggets of like things that people can hang on to. I'm thinking about, like, you got the guidance for Carolina some months ago at this point, but about, like, in last week's episode, about like a particular astrological sign in their life, which is a specific flag post that says lean into that. It's not like do this with that person, but it's
Well,
still nudging them
what I'm
more than
saying
just like
is,
be principled.
yeah. What I'm saying is there are times when you get very specific guidance, like
Mm-hmm.
do this, don't do that, because here's why. You're looking for this, not that. And if you do this, you're going to get this other thing, not the thing you're looking for. There
Mm-hmm.
is specificity that comes through. I'm talking about when it isn't.
Oh, okay.
When there isn't specificity coming through, what I'm saying is that it's because the soul or the higher self has something to teach. The soul and the higher self is saying, on this thing, in this case, you need to function from a principle and learn what living from that principle is going to teach you. Because the thing you have to learn actually can't be learned by me telling you the thing. The
Right.
thing can only be learned by you living into the thing. Isn't that interesting?
That was very interesting. That clarified things for me. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of what I find fascinating about being a human being is that there are certain things that guidance, God, higher self can tell us very specifically. Your Libra friend, la 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 la. There are other things where it will not give that guidance. It will say, well, you need to be true to yourself and speak up and see what happens. Because it will literally, I know with myself when I ask questions, it will withhold information because it knows if it told me anything, I wouldn't learn anything.
Yeah, you'd shortcut.
Certain things can be, you have to live through them in order to you just have to. In fact, you could argue from the spiritual perspective, a lot of the woo-wooiest of the woo-woo people believe that the human experience on the planet Earth is a school and that we're embodied in physical form in this three-dimensional reality where there's duality and things are hard and you have to like earn a living and like all whatever the challenges of 3D life. A lot of people believe we're here in this incarnation in this form because the specific challenges that one faces as a human being in three-dimensional reality are the only thing that would teach your soul the next thing it needs on its journey.
Right. That lines up with the dabblingly little amount I know about like Hinduism and is it, and just reincarnation and karma, and that each journey on this earth is another step towards your learning.
Mm-hmm.
And each time you come back, it's as a result of what you learned the previous time.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a principle that comes from many different philosophies and teachings. I just, what I find fascinating is the people in life who, and maybe you could shed light on this for me, and then we can go into Nico's question. But like people who you meet who are sort of like contentedly fine with who they are and what they've got. You know what I mean? They're just like, I'm good. I don't need to change. I don't need to grow. I'm good. And you interact with them and you're like, well, there's nothing terrible about that person. They sure are correct. Like they don't have to change or grow or do anything new. Just, you know what I mean? Like the people who have just no impulse in them to transform.
Yeah.
Their impulse is like, just be. And I'm not talking about like some like rigid, like,
uptight person or something.
Uptight,
yeah.
Republican. Like, I'm not talking about, evil people. Not that Republicans are evil, they're not. But some of them are.
Some of them are.
Exactly. As some Democrats are evil. Like, whatever.
Also
I'm just
true.
saying evil, like, I'm not talking about dark people who clearly are like psychotic or narcissistic and have a lot of work to do and like go into defensive avoidance of that. I'm talking about like you meet a nice person and they're just kind of like nice and they do their job and they watch their shows and they don't.
Yeah.
And they're not dumb either. They're not dumb. They're just like, I'm good.
I have been on some dates with people like that. And I don't mean that as like a ha comedy bit. Like I literally, that's what I think I struggle with when I'm on those. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're great. You're cool. You're sweet, but you're not inquiring beyond a certain point. Like I feel like I need there to be, and I often chalk that up to like, I guess I can only date artists or people who are performing artists. But no, but to a certain extent, yeah, that's a shortcut generally. People who are artists generally are involved with inquiry past the point of just, I'm good. And so like, I'm just not engaged by them. It's not that I'm repelled at all. They're perfectly lovely, but I'm just like, okay, now what?
Yeah, exactly. Now what?
Now
sort of
what?
Like, I guess everything's just fine. But it's like you could argue that like they are the person from whom we have something to learn. They're just settled and good, and you just do your life, and what's the problem? There's no problem. Enjoy a sunset, drink your vegan milkshake.
You talked about the dilettantes a couple episodes ago. You brought up the dilettantes, which are like, but that I think is different. Those are people who have actually reached a certain level of like, they've achieved some level of engagement. You were just saying like, oh, I'm going to go dig in the garden and then drink this lovely milk, like kale shake. And then I'm going to sit on the porch, and that's lovely. And how wonderful that is. And we brush them off as dilettantes. But I think we're talking about a slightly different version of that.
No, this is
same
totally
person.
different. Yeah, I'm not a dilettante. I think implies that like you dabble, you flit around, you never take anything too seriously because you don't have to.
Right.
Maybe like money is taken care of for you, so you just kind of like, you just follow your interests and whatever.
Right.
And I was sort of saying that time too that there's no justification for judging a dilettante, but but built into the word dilettante is judgment of it. If you say dilettante, we're usually using it as a pejorative.
Yeah.
But this thing is more a thing like, in a way, here's the irony of it. In a way, I feel like all the healing work I've been doing my whole freaking life, this life, has been to get to a place of like, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm whole. I'm complete. There's nothing to prove. There's nowhere to go. I don't have to change or heal. I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
And yet I'm saying about people who are like that already that they bore me, or that it's not something.
Well, and I don't know, maybe that's because they're not ticking off the sort of necessary ego boxes that we need to keep, because let's say like our attraction to people generally is coupled with both like beauty and love, but also some little piece of trauma or dysfunction as well. Like, like I am sexually aroused by that person, both because they're attractive and beautiful and wonderful and exciting, but there's also something about them that, flares up my cortex. And that is probably because they're not fully enlightened and calm and centered in their being.
Yeah, I mean, that right there, that's kind of the whole thing I'm getting at, is that like what I know of from like spiritual teachings about like choosing a partner, for example, is they're like, choose someone who's like a little less exciting than what you think you want. Because in the long run, that person is going to be there and is going to have your back and love you. And your connection is going to be built on a deeper, more soulful, spiritual heart connection that just says, I love you. You're different from me. You're not the world's most exciting person. And I love you. And we're going to nurture each other anyway and support each other long run and have each other's back. Whereas when you get the shiny, exciting person, they are always a bad idea.
I'm just thinking about wedding vows that say, you're not the most exciting person, but I'm cool with you.
Right. I know, but see, that points back to the whole thing I'm saying, which is like, even the notions we have of what gets said at your wedding vows is like these big theatrical statements of how amazing and impressive, and you've changed my whole, you're the one, this whole theatrics of what you're supposed to want in a person that you're living with day to day in life for real. I don't know. I don't have all the answers on this one.
You don't have all the answers. I wonder, we talked before we started today, we have two questions that we were thinking we might address, two in one, if we could keep it tight. We'll see. And now I kind of feel like we should, because that question is, that conversation we just had is super relevant to the other question that we were given by Missy. The one just now about like how you connect to people based on their level of, whatever
shininess.
Growth or shininess. And that was sort of what the other question was about.
Okay.
So,
well, let's ask both questions. I mean, I guess before we close off that conversation, I do want to say the coaching I've gotten from the people I really trust is that like you want someone who has enough shininess and interest for you that you're excited about it, but enough balance and not shininess that you can live with it long term. You know, there's this, And then if you look at the relationships, I don't know,
But then long term is when that lack of shininess really gets to you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, wow, you're just not shiny.
Yeah, but then you have to go to the principles, right? That's when you got to go like, I'm going to function from the soul level on this and go, I mean, I'm arguing this point, but I don't really know. But just for the sake of arguing it, let's say that's where you go to the principles and you go, well, wait a minute, on a soul level, is this relationship growing me forward? Okay, it still is. Is this relationship deepening my connection to source? Kind of through the pain that we have with each other? Yeah, kind of is. Is this relationship stable, steady, healthy, loving? You can look at it from the soul level perspective and be like, fuck, I'm in a good spot. But if you look at it from, is it shiny and exciting every 20 seconds, you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're married, Desmond, aren't you? He's like, I'm not talking about that shit.
I thought he held his finger up to the camera. It looks like he was fully flipping us off, but then I realized it was his ring finger showing us his wedding ring.
I don't suppose we're going to get you to talk about it, but no response.
Okay. No response. It's all right.
Like you, Katie, I can only answer if you ask specific questions. I'm not going to perjure myself with information.
Well, I mean, how long have you been married?
13 years, been together for 16.
That's not a little bit.
No, it's not. We've broken the averages. But yeah, what was your...
I guess what I would ask you then, your situation is particular, and I would say in that particular situation, what I want to know is like, do you care to keep the shiny alive? Is the shiny still alive? Like, do you still just get organically excited by one another? Like, look how awesome that person is. I'm like shiny excited about their awesomeness. Or is that a thing you have to like stoke the fires of? Or do you just sort of let that go and it becomes a different thing?
I don't. And I think I'm different from Kelly in this way. I don't get a spontaneous spike in, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm with this person. But the overall, just the sum of our relationship really excites me and makes me very happy and pleased that we've been through a fucking lot. And, you know, to be where we are now and happy and still in love and just living. I think the key for me, and this isn't necessarily what you asked, but the key for me is living two lives side by side. You know, and we've always done that. We've never become one, you know, and that keeps things really exciting because we go out and we have our own experiences and then we get together and we share them and it's amazing.
Interesting. But so you did say you're still in love.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal.
We are a great, you know, it really is, you know, we're not crazy different, but you know, there is definitely an opposites attract in us that keeps. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, if two people have the same opinion, then one of you is useless.
Huh. That's good. I like that.
Neither one of us is useless in this relationship.
Wow, because you have such different points of view about things and you're able to make space for each other to have those points of view and not feel threatened or conflicted by that. Wow, that's some grown-up shit, bro. That's some adulting you're doing.
Yeah, you know, we've come here, you know, good old-fashioned, one day at a time.
We've never met this person. We don't have proof that she exists. That's how separate their lives are. Our engineer and producer, whose home we have recorded at.
So I wanted to hear Cassidy's point of view on this and then kind of dive into the records. So, Cassidy.
Yes.
What's your point of view about the shininess factor? I kind of think I know what yours is.
It's the heart of the complication of my life.
Yeah.
It's the challenge of, and I have a very different relationship to longevity and partnership. The person to whom I am married lives in New York, but they're here now. And like, you know, we're always negotiating the sort of terms of our connection. And I think the shiny is a big part of that challenge of like needing to make sure that, questioning like, oh, but I don't feel the shiny. So that means this isn't right. But then like whenever one dives deeper back into that, you're like, oh, but maybe it is. What is partnership? What is even partnership actually? Is it co-support from a distance? Is that a possible? Is that still considered partnership? And I have a wandery answer to that because it is so the messy part of the struggle right now that's I don't have a pat answer, unfortunately, because
I guess
of that.
my thinking, you tell me where I'm off here, about what you would say your answer would be
Okay.
something along the lines of, I have this soul level friendship partnership with someone, and I still think the shiny matters a lot, so I keep pursuing it. I'm looking for the shiny and to have the not shiny long term. It's like you want both.
I think I struggle with sort of swinging between the poles a little bit of like, I want both, but I don't necessarily need them both in the same person. And it's so much more labyrinthine than that I don't even know if I can boil it down to as simple a thing as you just said.
Yeah.
What you said is not untrue, but it's also not clear. I feel like it's a whole episode.
I see. Well, let's do that. We'll have to do it. Maybe next time we'll do the love relationship, a formal episode on that. I'm sure
For me.
There'll be more than one. No, for all of us.
Whew. Oh, that'd be interesting. Get into all of our records individually on. Whew, that's some raw, personal. Here we are. Shit. I'm not saying no. I'm expressing my fear.
Well, what I meant by all of us is I meant relationships in general for human beings, not all three of us.
No, also, I think all three of us is an interesting conversation.
100%. When you said it, I was like, yeah, that would actually take a lot of time.
Yeah.
All three of us. Yeah. But so I don't even remember how we got here. How are we talking?
We're about to open the records for.
No, I know, but how did we get on this topic? I took us here, but I just don't remember how.
You usually do.
Hey, okay. Here we go. Don't slurp at me, you pig person. Let's open these records. So we have Missy is our first question. Is that right? And then
let me see if I've got anything more from Missy.
Do you have Missy's? Can I have Missy's full legal name?
Yes. Missy is Julie Michelle Peckham. Peckham.
All right. And then Nico's full name is?
Niccolo Piero Grelli. Niccolo Piero Grelli.
Hello.
Hey, Nico. I'm just going to be a relay, Nico, here.
Okay, so Cassidy, will you just read the question that Nico sent you already?
Nico says, how do I heal more from the things that block me from moving toward my success and fulfillment?
So specifically, what blocks are you talking about? And specifically, what are you looking to heal?
I guess my sense of worthiness or ability to take up the space, I guess the traumas and from my childhood that maybe contribute now that I have a lot of time to focus and go deep on those things. Having been raised by an abusive, narcissistic person who I had to sort of partially raise myself. And just to be clear, if the energy I'm putting towards is me moving in the right direction towards, both healing and my own success in what I do, if that makes sense.
What work do you do? And when you say move toward your success, what do you mean? What do you want more of specifically?
As a creative and performing artist and maker of artistic work, mostly in performative capacity, and in terms of the success, I guess success, that means a greater visibility and ability to make my income from it more, sustainably, exclusively, and an ability to also make the kind of work to find support for the work I'm actually making, and that's more specific.
Cool. And what kind of performance work do you make?
I make sort of variety of sort of performance art variety stuff as a maker of work. I'm also a playwright and screenwriter, filmmaker, and I act too, but generally I'm making work, especially now that's aimed more towards in the filmmaking capacity, but
okay, so that gives me plenty. When we are in the records, we'll ask we'll ask for you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're listening to the other episodes.
Thank you, Nico.
Thank you, Katie.
So we're going to specifically open Nicolo's. I'm going to say Nico for sure.
Nico is how they.
Yeah, we're going to
That's
open
how they identify.
Nico's records. So just so you know, that's what we're doing. This isn't like we're opening for all three of us or me or the collective.
Okay.
All right. That being said, we will do our little meditation to start. So let's breathe into the low belly. I'm actually wishing I had sat in my own records before we started today. Let me see here. Shall I open mine? Is the highest good to open mine? No. Okay, great. So we'll breathe into the low belly and we'll feel the bottoms of our feet on the ground. We're going to see the bottoms of each foot opening, like a little foot chakra at the bottom center of each foot. Thank you, Lisa Barnett, for this meditation that we're doing. And as the foot chakra at the bottom center of each foot opens, just in our mind's eye, in our imagination, knowing that the imaginal realm is a realm through which we tap into spirit or source. We're going to imagine those foot chakras opening, and from them grow a nice complex set of roots down into the earth. Big, complex, thick root structure growing down into the planet, down and down and down and down. Let each root branch, as it were, have a little tendril of another root branch that grows off of it so that the structure is really thick and complex, complete. And as we continue to breathe into our low bellies, see the roots growing into the earth, we're going to simultaneously imagine, visualize, allow there to be a grounding cord that shoots from the bottom of the tailbone down through all the layers of the earth into the center of the planet. We're going to allow that grounding cord to be about 1.5 feet wide. Nice wide grounding cord down to the center of the earth. Dropping into feeling our feelings. Even more so as we ground through the grounding cord, it'll bring up the feelings even more so. And we're going to visualize, imagine, or allow there to be spiritual energy from the earth that comes up through the grounding cord. The soul of Sophia, Gaia herself, comes up through the grounding cord, nourishes the cord, floods into our root chakra at the base of the spine there, the genital area. And then it breaks off into 2 channels. It floods into our left hip and our right hip, through the hip crease, into the quad of each leg, the hamstring of each leg, down to the knees, the shins and the calves, the ankles and the feet. This light, this spiritual energy, this consciousness of the planet, coming down through the legs, into the feet, and then feeding down into that root structure through each foot that we just created. And imagining and allowing that the root structure is really nourished and fed by this earth light. And then we're going to hold in consciousness, all 3 of us here, we're going to hold in consciousness that this meditation is having an effect on Nico as we do this. Usually I'd be doing this meditation with the person I'm reading for. So we're going to just hold in consciousness that Nico is grounding now and is in their full body and is in their breath and is connected to themselves more deeply now that we have a tripod grounding system established. And then we're going to each visualize a kite, a 3-dimensional kite floating above our heads. And the kite for Nico and for each of us listening has all the dissociated aspects of self up in the kite, all the parts of ourselves we tend not to want to be in touch with. And we're going to see a tail extending from the base of that kite down into our crown chakra, knowing that the kite is a 3-dimensional replica of our physical selves as we exist right this minute. It's a replica of you floating above your head. Good. The kite tail drops through the crown, into the head, into the throat. Allah, into the chest, into the solar plexus, the upper belly, the mid belly, the low belly. Through the root for the genital area, down into the grounding cord, and shooting all the way down to the center of the earth. The tail of this kite wraps around the center of the earth, just in our mind's eye, imagining this to be true. visualizing it, allowing it, trusting that, once again, imagination is a doorway to even subtler levels of consciousness. You think of the three-dimensional reality where your body is a more gross, overt level of consciousness. Imagination is more fine, subtle, light. And then beyond that, there's even lighter and brighter, finer realms. And as the tail of that kite drops it to the center of the earth, the gravity of the earth starts to pull that kite tail down so that the kite, the three-dimensional kite of Nico, and each of us listening now, drops into each of our individual physical bodies. Three-dimensional kite drops into your three-dimensional body. The feet drop into your feet, the legs drop into your legs, the hips and belly, pelvic floor drop into your hips, belly, pelvic floor. The glutes and the torso, the belly and the sides, the chest, the armpits and shoulders, the ribs and rib cage, the neck, the arms, elbows, hands, palms, wrists, head, jaw, teeth, eyes, nose, tongue muscle, ears, back of the head, the skull, the brain. The entire three-dimensional kite of you, the replica of you, drops into your three-dimensional self now. And we take one last look down at the cord, the kite tail, and we see it tightening to the center of the earth, forming a nice, tight, taut, long, strong line of energy from the base of our pelvic floor down to the center of the earth. And we're just holding in consciousness that Nico's kite is dropped in and touched in, connected in, and that the tail of their kite is dropped to the center of the earth. And from here we say, by the power of divine light within us, come Holy Spirit, Spirit of light, Spirit of truth, for the highest good of all throughout time, fill our hearts with divine love. As I humbly ask permission to open the divine portal to the highest realm of the Akashic records for Niccolo Piero Grelli. Akashic beings of light, guide Niccolo Piero Grelli to the deepest truth of their being, releasing any blocks and restrictions to their abundance and highest good. Lords of the Akashic records, assist Niccolo Piero Grelli to fully embody their soul's light, to fulfill their soul's purposes, and to heal any accumulated karma. Surround Niccolo Piero Grelli with the enlightenment and wisdom of their masters, teachers, and loved ones. Clearly direct Niccolo Piero Grelli's perspective and actions to those that manifest their divine plan. And I'll just go quiet for a moment here. Right. Free of all resistance, judgment, and fear. We're now filled with divine love, and the records are open. Niccolo Piero Grelli. So I'm just asking record keepers if you could pull anything up and through and out of me that might be in the way to my hearing and receiving clear guidance and direction for Niccolo. Okay, great. So the question here was something along the following lines of, given that Nico has some sense of unworthiness, struggling to have an ability to take up space, carrying a bunch of traumas from childhood that contribute to these fears and this sense of unworthiness and the ability to take up space, having been raised by an abusive narcissistic person, their question is, how are they to move toward greater success in their chosen field of performance, being a performance artist, creative performing artist, maker of artistic work with greater visibility, being able to make their income from it exclusively, performance art, playwright, screenwriter, filmmaker, actor, oh my goodness, all the things. So I'm just settling into Nico's vibe here. Well, you're asking many, many questions all at once, Nico. You're asking, how do I heal my stuff from childhood? And the answer is get busy healing it. Work with a healer, work with a therapist. The soul of the center of the answer is like drop into the energy of the trauma, feel it, and process it through your body. You've got to grieve all the pain and the sorrow of having been, and the rage of having been raised by who you were raised by. I also get that there was like emotional neglect, like there wasn't a lot for you because of what they were going through. So you've got to get in touch with the pain of that, down at the base of your pelvic floor, in touch with the pain of it. The only way out is through, as we talk a lot about on this podcast. So you're going to need support around that. This is not going to be a one and done. This is going to be like long-term, over time, working with healers and therapists or a therapist. I get that for you, energy work would contribute. So doing some healing work of an energetic nature, and also, having the cognitive framing of what happened, which you already have a lot of. It's like there's an emotional component. So let me just see here. Okay, the next piece is you want to start to frame in your mind the injuries. So this is going to sound like a paradox, and it is a paradox. It's going to sound like I'm saying now the opposite of what I just said. We'll discuss that, okay? You also need to frame in your mind that these traumas were the doorway to the light that is you. In other words, the things that happened broke you open too young to your heart and to, the saying, it's the cracks that let the light in. So you're like a whole lot of light. And it's just that you keep framing everything in your mind, in terms of how damaged you are and how injured you are and how you don't have a sense of worthiness and you're not allowed to take up space. But what you have to get is that even your framing of how you think you need to take up space and what worthiness is, or if it matters at all, is a little not misguided, but misframed. In other words, you are a light being. You're not a normal person. Okay. Normal people are like worthy and take up space. Like that's very like 3-dimensional reality stuff, which good for the people for whom that is relevant. Your thing is to function from the light being that you are. So you're going to like feel into the pit of your stomach and know and feel all that spaciousness that's in there. You have a real lightness about you. Your lightness is your gift, but you have it framed as a problem because you're looking at the external reality around you, how other people function, and you keep trying to fit the square peg of you into the round hole of how they do it. That will never work for you. Your thing is to be a being of light, to just vibrate as a very spacious. It's almost like when you say, how do I take up more space? It's like, let go of the idea of needing to take up more space and feel into how spacious you are internally and speak and act and create and move from that place. The whole thing is let go of looking outside of you at what other people are doing and going, wow, I don't know how to take up space like that white guy over there. I don't know. I don't have a sense of worthiness like that person. You don't actually have to feel worthy to succeed in life. What you have to do is show up and do the work. So if you want to make films and screenwrite and act, go to auditions, write stuff down, and pitch your screenplays. You don't have to feel good about it, and you don't have to be ready, and you don't have to take up space. You just have to show up. So there's almost like a clamping down in your third chakra and in your second chakra. There's a clamping down. Third chakra is like solar plexus, in case you don't know, but you probably do. Second chakra is low belly. There's a clamping down you do when you compare yourself. To compare is to despair. So when you go like, oh, I should be better. I'm not worthy. Tell yourself like, unclamp in the third and second, let it go, be light, and then make, write, create, audition from the space of light, and let go of the need to be worthy and the need to take up space. It's such a funny, weird paradox on this planet, how even the words we use, the therapeutic words we use to help ourselves can become the cages that limit us. You don't have to be limited by what you don't have or who you are not. You just go forth. You make the play and you submit it to the people. Don't feel worthy. Just do it anyway. And in the meantime, go to therapy and have some healing sessions to clear out what I see as like this sort of brick of heaviness in your low belly that is the old trauma that hasn't been fully processed. But that's just to make you even lighter and to make things sort of even more like, metaphor is like, how you grease the wheels, you grease the gears inside of an engine, a car engine. You put grease on it to make it all flow with no friction. The healing of your trauma makes everything flow with no friction, but you're allowed to move forward while there's still friction. And in fact, you're going to have to if you want to achieve all the things you're looking to achieve. And the last piece is every time you catch yourself going, I can't do this thing because notice how, like, for example, I can't submit this play, or I can't write, or I can't be a filmmaker, or I'm not going to go to that audition or whatever. Notice how the reasons you have for why you can't are rooted in what you think they will say, whoever they is outside of you, or what you're comparing yourself to how they do it or have done it. That is a useless conversation to have with yourself. So you can have it, notice that it's having itself in your head, and then say, cool, so I'm going to submit anyway. And then do your healing work so that the wheels are greased even more, so that the whole thing becomes easier. And I said that was the last piece, but there's one other thing. The vision for your life, Nico, is still coming into shape. In other words, this list, performance art, playwright, screenwriter, filmmaker, actor, live TV, theatrical, variety stuff. That's a vision that's still taking shape. So part of what's happening for you is that we're talking about timing, because you've got part of what's going to make everything move forward better for you is when the whole vision is clear of what the simplified kind of like narrowed down movement forward version of your reality is going to be. The truth is you've got to kind of hone in and you got to focus a little bit. And you go, well, how do I focus? The answer is you feel into the pit of your belly and you ask your feelings, what do we focus on? Now, if I'm sitting here with your soul looking at that question, what is it in your highest good to focus on? I'm looking at it. It's interesting because this word is not on your list, but this is what I get, is producer. Something that you tend to do, Nico, is you can really avoid your feelings. You can avoid dropping into your body because of the trauma you described. Number one. Number two is like, you're kind of a producer of all things. I'm not gonna say too much more about that because I think it's gonna be challenging to hear that right now to a certain degree. So I'll just say, like, you might consider what would it be like to produce all of those things and not have to be the one doing each of the things, but holding space for those things to occur, because you have a capacity to get stuff done. And there's this feeling of being pulled in all these directions that if you were to frame yourself as producer in your mind and go like, what if I'm a producer? Feel into in your body what that does for you and how that changes the question. Okay. I'm realizing, Cassidy, I think in the future when we do these, we really need to have the people on the line. Like, we need to have them here so we can have a bit of a dialogue. And I'm excited about it. It's going to be cool. Cool. Record keepers for Nico. Is there more? Okay, that's it for now. So we're just going to close Nico's records and then go into Julie's and see kind of what very different vibe we get.
Wonderful.
Okay. So
I was about to ask a follow-up question, and then you immediately, they were like, yeah, we know. We're about to get to that. And you answered, you addressed my follow-up question. So
cool.
I love it when that happens.
What was it?
It was just about what feels of the different pieces.
Yeah.
Where is light, where is heavy, or where is, where are the arrows pointing? And you addressed that amazingly. So thank you.
Yeah, that was good. Sometimes it's hard when they'll just sometimes be like, no. They have to feel into it, but not always.
Yeah.
Often they'll be like, no, but do this, try that. Like, I was so grateful one time when I had a reading with an Akashic Records reader who became my teacher, Lisa Barnett. She talked a lot about, I never told her anything about what I do. And she said, stand-up comedy. Oh, she goes, yeah, you need to be doing more of that. That's
wow.
Very in alignment with your soul. You have this rebellious soul, this edgy soul. You've been a spiritual teacher a lot of times. And this time you came around to like shake people awake, to be like, hey, motherfucker,
That's great.
Anyway, it's so helpful, right? When someone mirrors back a deep something within you.
Right.
Specifically, like we were talking about today, specifically.
Yeah, it's nice to get principal guidance, but it's also nice to occasionally just get hey, look at being a producer.
No, 100%. I think like just with that topic of the soul level types of answers, it's just an invitation for people to understand that sometimes what is required is a soul level piece of guidance that is not specific. Other times it's like, be a producer.
Yeah.
All right, so let's close the records for Nico. So I just want to ask now, thank you. First of all, thank you, record keepers, for the guidance for Nico, for this insight. May it be useful to Nico. Thank you, Nico, for the question. Hope it's helpful in some way. I ask that you return Nico to their complete human wholeness and all of us to our complete human wholeness. I'm going to send all Nico's energy back to Nico now, and everybody else's energy back to themselves. Thank you, record keepers, for that. The divine portal and the records for Nicolo Piero Grelli are now closed. The divine portal and the records for Nicolo Piero Grelli are now closed. The divine portal and the records for Nicolo Piero Grelli are now closed. Amen. It's really fun for me to get to experience so many people's different kind of energetic vibrations because people's energies are so different.
Yeah.
Like Nico had this quality of just this very fine light, this like kind of subtle, I want to say like a blade of grass in the wind, excuse me, kind of quality.
Mm-hmm.
But if that blade of grass were made of pure white light.
Yeah.
You know, like a subtle, fine, gentle, it's not like a fire hose of light, bright, fine, refined blade of grass kind of light. So those are words. And then let's open Julie's and see like what words come in description of her alignment. All right. So we're just going to start directly with the prayer. Okay, so by the power of divine light within us all, come Holy Spirit, Spirit of light, Spirit of truth, for the highest good of all throughout time. Fill our hearts with divine love as I humbly ask permission to open the divine portal to the highest realm of the Akashic records for Julie Michelle Peckham. That's right, isn't it, Cass?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Peckham.
Akashic beings of light, guide Julie Michelle Peckham to the deepest truth of her being, releasing any blocks and restrictions to her abundance and highest good. Oof. Lords of the Akashic Records, assist Julie Michelle Peckham to fully embody her soul's light, to fulfill her soul's purposes, and to heal any accumulated karma. Surround Julie Michelle Peckham with the enlightenment and wisdom of her masters, teachers, and loved ones. Clearly direct Julie Michelle Peckham's perspective and actions to those that manifest her divine plan. I'll go quiet for a minute. Okay, free of all resistance, judgment, and fear. We're now filled with divine love and the records are open. Yes, I'm looking at my little puppy dog in my lap here. She's being very adorable now. Julie Michelle Peckham. All right, record keepers. So we're asking you to open the records for Julie Michelle Peckham. Deepen me into her records. Deepen her into her records. Clear anything that would stand in the way of me receiving clear guidance from her. This is so interesting. Now, Julie Michelle Peckham has a very different energy. This is the energy of someone who's like look, this is the phrase that comes through. It's not literally this, I don't think, but the phrase is like an Ohio mom, sort of like good lady, salt of the earth, has a feminine energy. I don't know, Ohio mom kind of feeling. Just all around good soul, good person, simple. I can just see her. She's a good egg.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah, what was her question?
Well, she moved to Georgia from Utah about a year and a half ago to start a new life, new energy. Felt pulled to the area, and great things happened. But they'd like to find a romantic partner. She'd like to find a romantic partner. And so far that hasn't happened. Wants to know, will the partner ever show up? And is she doing something to keep him from coming into her life?
Okay. All right. So Lords, Masters, and Teachers of the records for... excuse me, that's energy clearing. That's not me tired. For Julie Michelle Peckham, will the partner ever show up? Yes, absolutely. Part of the challenge for Julie here is
she goes by Missy, if that matters.
Nah.
Missy is her favorite name.
So but thank you, because we'll refer to her as that, because if that's what she likes to be called. So it's just like her family and the normalcy and people in her life. Everybody has their thing, and she's like, "Where's my thing?" This is in part about like it's just timing. It's just timing. Timing is different, and kind of doing whatever you can to let go of like it should have happened by now. Why isn't it happening by now? Developing some patience with your process. Okay, so that's part of it. So will the partner show up? There will be a partner, yes. Are you doing anything to stand in the way? No. No. This is like, I see you like, like you're like smiling and you get the hair curly and you put the skirt on. And you go out and you're shiny and you're like smiley and you don't have to like do anything. You just like, I see you in a group of people at a bar or a restaurant and you're just being you, and you'll run into that person. I'm kind of wondering what makes you think you wouldn't. What makes you think you wouldn't run into them? So, in other words, stop functioning from what am I doing wrong? I must be doing something wrong. You're not. Just enjoy your life and be your smiley self. That, you know how you have that like inner heart glow? You have an ability to really just be joyful and be happy. You sometimes sort of shut that down in the name of, I don't know, what is it? In the name of trying to be smart about things. You're like, I should be intelligent about this and not assume I get to have what I want. And that is the curse of the intelligent person. No, you of course get to have what you desire. When it comes from the heart, it's always true. It's always pure. So be with your shiny, bright heart. And the trick for you is just desire what you desire and go out into the world being in your heart and glowing that loving glow you have from your heart, and trust that the glow of your heart magnetizes to it that which needs it. There are people out there who need what you have. There is a person who wants what you have. So you have to be what you are, which is a glowing, bright heart who's sweet and smiley from your heart. I'm not describing your personality. I'm describing your heart's essence is that smiley, bright, joyful one. Don't clamp down on that smiley, bright, shiny one for the sake of intelligence. What a shame that would be. And it doesn't mean you have to be dumb or not have intelligence. It just means don't clamp down in the name of it. And by clamp down, I mean close your heart. So wherever you go in your life, keep the bang. You're in line at the supermarket. I mean, I know we're all sort of doing less stuff right now, but you get my point. Wherever you go, have that open-hearted beacon of light energy shining from your heart. Be that when you interact with people. And that's what draws to you what you desire. But also don't hold it in your mind like, okay, now I have to go out and be that. And I have to make sure and get hyper vigilant about it and get in your head about it. Just gently be who you are from your heart. See the heart that you have as a magnet and pull into yourself the partner you're seeking. That's it. Very simple. You're not saying like, I want to do 9 different careers. How do I move forward and heal all of my trauma? You're saying like this message is simpler. If you were here, I'd be like, cool, what else do you want to know? So let's see, record keepers. Is there more to say here on that? No. Right, we're going to close her records. Thank you for the question, Julie, Michelle, Peckham, Missy. So you have 90 names. You got to pick one. Come on. We're going to start calling you Peckham just for the sake of it. So
Mrs. Peckham.
Mrs. Peckham, I brought you some tea. Thank you, Mrs. Peckham, and the record keepers of Mrs. Peckham, Ms. Peckham. Thank you for the guidance and the direction today. I ask that you return us all now to our complete human wholeness. Send Julie Michelle Peckham's energy back to her completely. The divine portal and the records for Julie Michelle Peckham are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the records for Julie Michelle Peckham are now closed. The divine portal and the records for Julie Michelle Peckham are now closed. It's so funny. I have to say this. Every time I close somebody's records or any records, as they're closing, there's always another little nugget. They're always like, but don't forget to say this thing. It's so funny every time. I wonder why that is.
Did you get one?
Yeah. Well, so this one was like, you have a tendency, Julie, to get a little wound up in your head and a little neurotic around a bunch of shit. You can be a little freaking like thicky, wind your head up around stuff. And they're like, that's the practice for you in your spiritual path is to, when you catch yourself doing that, when you notice that you're wound up there, thicky, spiral in your head, it's like, come back down into your heart, come back down into your body. It's a practice. It's not like it's going to fully go away right away, but you have to practice coming down into your feelings and your heart and your body. Be here now, glowing from that heart. And sort of like the last minute message was like, it's not just this thing she gets her head wrapped around. She just does that. So that's, There's a little guidance of like, try to discipline yourself around coming out of that pattern. I'm in.
Cool beans.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been going.
You're like, I gotta get out of here.
I'm good. I could stay here all day, but you know.
You're like, I gotta go be a non-vegetarian.
I gotta go eat some
I gotta
meat,
eat
you
some
guys.
fucking chicken meat.
Yeah.
I think today I'm gonna go just outside. I live, on the water, and there's all these hikes outside, and we have turkeys, a band of wild turkeys that
You gonna go
roves.
kill one?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna grab one by the neck and just whack it against the tree nearby.
Mm-hmm.
That seems good, right?
Pluck it, skin it. I guess you don't have to skin it if you pluck it.
I wonder. Yeah, I mean, we eat turkey skin.
Yeah, but I don't know if we eat we drink wild turkey, but that's a whole different story.
Thank you and good night.
And we didn't really end it. We probably should right there. That would be perfect.
That was the end, you dummy.
Yeah, except we didn't say the thing that we wanted to say about.
Oh, go ahead.
Like contact and email. We wanted to
you
make sure.
It's so good.
All right. Hey, please contact us on all the different places. On Twitter, we're at All Answers Pod. Gmail is the best way to directly contact us. allanswerspod@gmail.com. If you have a question, go ahead and ask that question. And a couple of things that's great to put in there. A, maybe a phone number we could contact you at in case we want to try and get you live on the air. B, whether it's okay to use your full name out loud on the podcast. That helps us. It's great if we can. It's better, but we can do it if you say, no, I'd rather you didn't. In which case we'll beep it or something. But so at All Answers Pod, allanswerspod@gmail.com, and at All Answers Pod on Facebook if you just want to check out our stuff.
You could also go to Facebook at All Answers Pod and post a question there if you
That's
like.
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we might follow up.
With your full legal name, the name that shows up on your driver's license.
And your social security number, just post it right there in the comment section.
Yeah.
And your address and the name of the school that you attended as a child.
I need a bra size for the women and a penal measurement for the men.
Tumescent or not tumescent?
Wow, I don't know what that means.
I believe that's another word for erect or not.
Oh,
yeah,
tumescent.
You gotta have at least one 50-cent word in the damn podcast a day.
I want a t-shirt that says #tumescent. I'm tumescent.
I'm tumescent for my body.
I can't.
Okay, we had a good ending and I blew it. Please do contact us, y'all. And tell your friends to listen to us.
You tell them, boss them around, smack them on the face a little bit. Get them to grab the neck, the turkey neck of their other friends.
Of your soul.
Metaphorically, smack it against it. I don't know what's happening.
The turkey neck of your soul. That's the next name of our podcast.
Or that's today's episode title.
The turkey neck of your soul. Would you please name it that, Desmond? Thanks.
I'm happy that we had kind of a lighthearted, let's ask people stuff about their lives episode, right?
Yeah, I know we'll return to some more heavy stuff, I'm sure, in the weeks to come, but I think it's okay to have we're still living.
Yeah.
And we're still existing on all the different levels.
It was refreshing.
Yeah.
Okay. I love you guys.
Love you.
Party
Bye.
on.
Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's at All Answers Pod. At All Answers Pod. Thank you.